Show me.
I'm the Martial Arts Film Freak, and I watched The Shadow Strays.
13. Kamu terdistraksi. Karena itu kamu gagal.
Di mana Monji?
Kamu mau anak itu, saya mau jasa kamu. Saya tahu kamu bukan perempuan sembarangan.
The Shadow Strays is a 2024 Indonesian film that dropped on Netflix last Friday, written by and directed by the wonderful Timo Tjahjanto. You may recognize that name as the director, and I believe writer as well, of Headshot starring Iko Uwais, The Night Comes For Us starring Joe Taslim, Julia Estelle, and Iko Uwais, and The Big Four, the cast of which I don't remember. However, I can tell you that movie, it goes so hard. No one talked about The Big Four. People like Headshot, and everyone talked about The Night Comes For Us. Everyone's still talking about The Night Comes For Us. And then The Big Four happened, and no one said a word. Go watch The Big Four. Let's talk more about this movie, though, and not The Big Four, The Shadow Strays. This is going to be one of those situations where I have to read out names again. The film stars Aurora Ribeiro, Hana Malasan, Taskia Namya, Agra, I don't know if I'm pronouncing some of these right, Piliang, Andri Mashadi, Cristo Emmanuel, and I'll say Ali Fikri. That feels like the most important names here. The Shadow Strays is about a 17-year-old orphan girl who was raised inside of a group of elite, trained assassins called the Shadows. While on a leave of absence, she befriends a young orphan boy after his mother passes away. She feels remorseful and, empathizes with him based on her own past. And when bad things start to happen to him, she steps in and puts her skills to the use in an effort to protect him, slowly digging herself deeper into the Jakarta underworld. For some reason, I found this character that I really enjoyed throughout several films of this remorseful assassin. Of course, you could see John Wick as sort of a remorseful assassin, but the main examples for me would be John Woo's The Killer, with Chow Yun-fat being a remorseful assassin, regretful assassin, as well as another Timo Tjahjanto project, The Night Comes For Us. Joe Taslim is very much a remorseful, regretful assassin, and we see that again here, and I don't think it gets old. It's very easy to sympathize, to empathize with this character, even though, I've never slaughtered a room full of 30 Yakuza members, but then felt bad when I accidentally killed one civilian. But, whenever I saw that happen, I was like, oh, they have a heart. That's no spoiler, that's the first 5 minutes of the movie. Timo Tjahjanto, I have to give a massive compliment to as a writer. You would think, of course, he comes from this horror background. He did a lot of horror films before he dove further into action. Of course, his action is brilliant. You would think I would want to, praise him for the violence he puts on screen. But truly, as a writer, he does such a good job with characters. Every single character in this film has some element to them, has something that makes them distinct. It's a very rich cast of characters. You could start with our main character, 13. We'll call her 13 because we don't learn her name for quite some time. I'm not going to spoil that for you. How, who, when, why she is. Her name, for the most part, as we know her, is 13. And her relationship with Monji, who is the little boy whose mother dies, they only really know each other for 24 hours. But because we learn so much in very unique ways about her backstory and this quick relationship they form. We've seen this boy, we know he cares about his mother, she's passed away, and she identifies with that as an orphan herself. And she just treats him so kindly for that 24 hours they know each other. So when things start to go south, we're in it with her. We are fully on her side. And then this cast of villains that she meets. There's 3 main gang leaders, and each one of them is so distinct, even if they barely get screen time, you know exactly who they are based on their look, their personality. And then there's a few of the underlings that, whether they are fully brutal pieces of trash or somehow are growing a little bit of a heart, just making a little bit of a change. They're so well done. And then this League of Assassins, which with them we never really get much personality. However, we do just get, them being unique characters. They all have these certain traits, these certain flaws, these certain things that make them who they are. And it's so fun to meet and discover these characters. And going through that part of it, Timo plants these seeds of this richer world. He plants these seeds of, yes, we have 13 and her story going on over here, but if we get back into our world of assassins here, there's something more at play. It's not just the assassins. There's something deeper going on. There's some level of, you call it espionage, call it, I'm blanking on words, treason, I guess, possible deserters. There's so much going on in this world of assassins that is just planted here, and it makes you wonder what's going on there. But it doesn't give you too much time to think about what's possibly going on there, because we got to get back to what's going on with 13 and her story of diving into this crime-ridden underworld of Jakarta, trying to find Munji, trying to protect him, and, making one or two friends along the way while just killing so many people. But let's go ahead and talk about all of that death. Timo Tjahjanto I think it is evident that he is a master of cinema. I feel this level of anger sometimes being in these film communities, whether they be YouTube or Twitter or TikTok, where people talk about some of the best directors working today, and they'll say Denis Villeneuve, the Dune movies are so captivating. He creates this incredible world, and his directing and all this. He makes beautiful films. Christopher Nolan, he twists your brain and does all this fun stuff. Tim Burton, blah blah blah. I don't know, other people I can't think of. I don't watch too many of the big Oscar films that I should be watching. Everyone's really going crazy for M. Night Shyamalan right now, but I truly believe that a name that should enter that space, a name that should be uttered by more people than just the action and martial arts fandom, should be Timo Tjahjanto. Yes, we've all been preaching the names of so many people throughout the years. Of course, you can go back to the old school stuff and you can say Lau Kar-leung, Yuen Wu-ping, Chang Che, Joseph Kuo, Jackie Chan, Sammo Hung, etc. And even today, even if you go today, you've got Isaac Florentine and Jesse V. Johnson and Gareth Evans. Honestly, he's broke out a bit more. And there are other names, but a name that should graduate from the mouths of just the martial arts and action fans and into the wider world of cinema and recognized as one of the truly best directors working today is Timo Tjahjanto. I go on that short little rant there, or long rant, whatever you feel about it, just to try to give you some idea of how good the action is in this movie. Filmmakers get credit. Filmmakers get credit for doing all these things. Oh, they're so good at capturing this dialogue. They're so good at capturing the grand of this, the grandness of a scene. They're so good at capturing the beauty of something, this or that. But directors, like a Chad Stahelski, I'll say even, don't get the credit for capturing brutality, for capturing violence, for capturing action. That is coming from somebody who is not a violent. I don't love violence. I'm not a horror guy. However, for some reason you take that violence and you put it in an action scene, suddenly I'm just in. What so many directors, filmmakers have done this year with action is incredible. And somehow Timo Tjahjanto jumped to the top of the list in the last quarter of the year. What he does here with swordplay rivals some of the best swordplay of today, rivals the work of someone like Kenji Tanigaki, who put together the swordplay within the Rurouni Kenshin films, which most people would tell you that's the best swordplay of the modern day is the Rurouni Kenshin films. Well, this might now be the front runner for something like that. The gunplay, you see incredible gunplay in something like John Wick, which I would say what we have here in The Shadow Strays is not the same. It's not the same at all as what's going on John Wick. John Wick is far more tactical, and while there is definitely tactics within the action of The Shadow Strays, when you get to the gunplay, sometimes it just becomes spray and pray, and you know what? I don't really mind. Timo Tjahjanto's ability to capture pure brutality should be commended. what he did, I mean, he's done it before. If you've seen The Night Comes For Us, and again, The Big Four was fantastic. I've always praised him for coming from this horror background and then implementing those horror elements, that gore, that pure violence into an action landscape. Yes, you've seen half of someone's head get torn off in this slasher horror film, but what if you put that same level of violence into a martial arts fight scene, and it is breathtaking. But I will say also, outside of just the gore, the brutality, the violence, wonderful choreography of this film, the storytelling within it is also wonderful. I felt the need to look up the fight choreographer. According to IMDb, it is a man named Mohammed Irfan, and all praises to him. What he did was wonderful. I know that storytelling and choreography and all that stuff is not always just up to the director, but they sign off on what a fight choreographer does. What Mohammed put together in this film was beautiful, especially towards the final fight. The final fight is probably the most cathartic of all of them, and it is wonderful. He has created this wonderful, diverse landscape of fighting, of violence, where you have very clean choreography. Everybody is moving with the perfect swiftness. At least our main characters move with this perfection that they would need as these highly trained assassins. And then there are fights that get so much dirtier, so much more disgusting, that are erratic. And then we have something like the final fight, which does both, because it starts out with our main character being this incredible assassin. It starts out super clean, and then just as this story of this fight scene evolves, it becomes dirty, it becomes messy, it becomes erratic, and the storytelling of the scene starts to really blend into that fight choreography, and it is a tremendous accomplishment. Wrapping it up, I think I am going to give The Shadow Strays. Let's go. Jesus, this was such a violent film. Let's give The Shadow Strays. Here's the thing. I want to say like 4.5, 4 3/4, but I mean, it's like I went into this movie knowing I was getting a Timo Tjahjanto film, and I got exactly a Timo Tjahjanto film that I wanted. I can't find a single flaw in that. There is no fault in that whatsoever. The Shadow Strays is a perfect 5 needle hand grenades out of 5. Brutal, wonderful, fantastic, excellent. I loved it. And one thing I really truly appreciated from Timo Tjahjanto at the end of this movie is, I won't say who shows up, even though it's no spoiler because we don't know who he is. Somebody shows up, a character, and I won't say who the character is, or I won't tell you the actor either. A person shows up at the end of this movie. And I think it really just shows how much of a martial arts fan, an action fan, either Timo Tjahjanto is, or how much he understands the fandom of action martial arts fans, filmgoers, film viewers. Because a character shows up wearing a helmet, and you don't really, you don't know who that person is. No one's really been set up to be some returning character. Who's this person? But then they take it off, and I will say it is an actor that made me just go, what? What? You just gonna drop that right here at the end? What the? Like, Timo knew what he was doing 100%, dropping that specific actor. I don't want to say more about that because spoilers, but it's so good. Netflix, if you don't give me Timo Tjahjanto films, physical media, give them to me on the store shelf so I can go buy them. I'll spend. Netflix, I'm asking you to let me give you more money. So if you could just put those movies out on physical media, his 3 films that he's made for you that I believe so far, being The Night Comes For Us, The Big Four, and now The Shadow Strays. Netflix, if you could just print some copies of that for me on Blu-ray or 4K and just put them on the shelf, I will give you money. And I know hundreds of other people, maybe thousands, I can at least think of a solid 12 right now, that will give you physical money for those movies. So please, Netflix, just do that. The fact that I only have one Timo Tjahjanto film on my shelf is a crime. That's it. That's all I've got to say about this wonderful film. It is perfection. Please go watch it if you have not yet. Do it. Don't do it around people who are squeamish, because god damn it, it is gory. Do all the things that you're supposed to do here over here on YouTube. Comment your thoughts on The Shadow Strays in the comment section down below. Have you seen it? What did you think? Don't forget to follow on all the socials. That is the Martial Arts Film Freak on Facebook, Tristan_Glover on the Twitter, Martial Arts Film Freak on Instagram, and Martial Arts Film Freak on TikTok. Thank you so much for watching, and have a good day.